afternoon, Facebook and crafters. I'm hoping I'm live. I'm just going to sit here for a moment, as always, just to see if anyone's watching. Although it is lunchtime. Oh yes, I've got 2 watchers. Hi Mum. And I'm waiting for the other little picture to pop up. Anyway, I've got Mum and I've got Sylvia. Yes, fantastic. Hello. Ah dear, that's funny. Hooray, I'm live. And Mum, you even, oh, and hi Shaz. Mum, you beat Sylvia. Woohoo. I know that's a little competition that you have with yourself, but hey. That makes me smile. So welcome to Izzy's Crafty Bees and my lunchtime live. Today's the 30th of November. If I could speak, I'll put my teeth in. Tuesday the 30th of November. And today I'm going to be sharing with you a cute money or gift token, gift card, wallet with an accordion pocket inside. So I watched my fabulous friend yesterday evening, Lorna. I know she's watching actually. Hi Lorna. So if you've not watched Lorna's gift card holders for Christmas gifts, then please go and watch. She's Lorna Carter's Creations. She did a fabulous live yesterday evening, and my wallet is similar. Well, I will say same but different, because it's similar but it's not exactly the same. So if you watch my live today and Lorna's from yesterday evening, you've got a fantastic choice for gifting those gift cards for the Christmas season, or money, popping some money in. Maybe you've got some, I've got nieces who are not kids anymore, they don't want toys, but they're not quite grown up enough maybe just to stop buying for them, because we do stop buying for nephews and nieces when they reach a certain age, and they love to get money. Fun coupons we call them. They love to get money, so it's a really fab project for that. So that's what I'm going to share with you today. Before I do that, I'll also share 3 things that have made me happy since I last saw you. So I didn't see you last week because I was in Skipton with my lovely mum and my nieces, because it was Ashley's 12th birthday. So I was in Skipton having a hug with my mum in person. So that made me enormously happy. If you can hear a loud buzzing noise, I do apologise. It's not feedback from anything I'm doing. Husband's busy building and testing an amplifier, and he's just clearly testing it, and it clearly needs some modifications because it made a loud buzzing noise then, like something from Doctor Who. You might not have heard that, so you might think I'm talking silly, but anyway. So yes, going to Skipton and seeing my family made me very happy last week. I also had a fabulous walk on Sunday morning while I think the rest of the country seemed to be getting a pile of snow. We had sunshine here in Retford, and we took the opportunity to get out in that sunshine for a couple of hours walk, so that was lovely. Hadn't been outdoors for the best part of a week, not for exercise anyway. I mean, I go outdoors of course, but not for any exercise. That was lovely. Yeah, and something else that made me enormously happy was that my new paper version of the new catalogue arrived in the post. So that made me enormously happy. A little bit more about that towards the end of this session. But before that, I'll just say a quick hello to a couple of people watching as well. Hi Helen and hi Rebecca. Thank you for joining. So let's crack on. Let me whiz the camera round. Now check which button. If I pop my glasses on, then I can study. It's that button there. Yes. So let's whiz you round. Bear with while I do the wiggly wobblies. And I'm just going to see if I can zoom out a tad. Oh, it's very technical, my camera holder, made of plumbing piping. So to zoom out I need to just adjust a tie wrap. It's very technical. But it works, a treat, and it cost me nothing. So there you go. So as always, I'll just mention the host code. So if you're a customer shopping direct online via my online store, izzyscraftybees.stampinup.net, and you don't live locally to me, please use the host code. This host code is likely to only last another couple of days because I'll be closing this workshop order in a couple of days. But please always check my Facebook page, which is just at the @ Izzy's Crafty Bees, where you're watching me now, hopefully. But if you're watching me back on YouTube, if you go to my Facebook page, I always pin my host code, my current host code, to the top of my feed. So please always check that out, because any orders over £25 will get a freebie from me. So that's that bit done. Let me share with you what we're making today. So this is the main project that I'm sharing with you today. So you can see the size of it. I've done this one with a belly band, so that just slides off, and it has a flap closure and then an accordion pocket inside. So accordion pockets inside. So you can pop various things in. You could pop some money in there. I'm just going to show you for size, because I do actually have an old Love to Shop gift card here. It's a bit covered in glue and bits and pieces, because I actually use this as a crafting tool. I will show you in a moment. But just for size, it fits perfectly a gift card, so a credit card size. And also just for scale, let me just find some cash hidden in a drawer. So here's a £10 note, and here's a £5 note. So you can see, I think we might just be able to squeeze a £5 in. I'm not sure. No, yeah, it would just fit a £5 in that pocket nicely. But a tenner, I think you'll have to possibly fold up and pop in, but folded in half you can pop in. But it's a really fun way of gifting. So like I say, if you do have younger members of the family and you want to give cash, it's nice to actually divide it up into fivers, for example, and you can pop a few in. You could even pop a little note. Sorry, I'm just turning around to just put those to one side. You could even pop a little note or a tiny card in there. So that's the one I'm going to demonstrate, and I will also share with you another couple of different ones. So I did this one and finished the flap with a Velcro enclosure, so exactly the same. That sort of, there you go, that rear and front pocket are a little bit tighter because they just don't sort of stretch. But yeah, Velcro enclosure, just a simple decorated flap. And then this one, again, I just used a white Velcro dot, exactly the same. Yeah, exactly the same mechanism, accordion inside, just decorated differently. Now we'll come back to these during the video, because I want to talk about products that are retiring and carrying over and on sale and all of that, and what it means I'm going to talk about later on. I love the penguin as well, Shaz, and the good news is, just while we're talking about that, is the penguin, although it won't be available after the end of December, it is a product that will be carrying over until into next year's mini catalogue for Christmas. So we will see a return of the penguin. However, it won't be available as a bundle. So that's just something to think about, and I will come back to all of that. But in the meantime, before we do all of that kind of what's on sale and what's not on sale, I'm going to take a seat and I'm going to start with the making, because that's what you're all here for. So I'm just going to take the belly band off and pop my original project just to the side. Let me just see where we can actually see that. I'm just going to pop it there for the moment, and I'm going to bring in all my bits. So I'm using the Tidings and Trimmings stamp set. Now this is actually in the annual catalogue, so even after the end of December, if you're one of those crazy crafters that likes to do some Christmas crafting maybe in the spring, ready for next year, I mean, just go have a lie down. But anyway, I don't want to be rude about it, but I'm just the Grinch and I don't like Christmas crafting too much too early. But if you are, this stamp set, and there is matching dies, is available as a suite and as a product, as a, gosh, I can't speak, as a bundle. So the suite also includes designer series paper, the dies, the stamp set, and some really pretty ribbon, which I'm not using on this project, but this is a woven ribbon. Hopefully you can see that. Really soft in evening evergreens. It's a really lovely. I think that might be everything in the suite. I can't remember, but that's what I'm using for this project anyway. I'm just going to pop the dies to one side and the stamp set, and I'm actually only going to use the sentiment May Your Days Be Merry and Bright from the stamp set just for this project. I'm also going to use, and I'm really sort of hesitant to bring this out because we no longer do circle punches, but as you can see from the inside, it makes it so much easier to open that wallet if you've got that kind of thumb hole there, which I've used a circle punch. Now you can use a circle die, but just for the purposes of this demonstration I'm going to use a circle punch. I'm also going to use the trio punch for corner rounding, which I know Lorna mentioned in her demo last night. So Shaz, I think you were watching. If you heard Lorna talk about the trio punch, this is what Lorna was talking about, and this is a punch that punches 3 different things. So it corner rounds, which I'm going to demonstrate. It also gives you a fancy punch out and a ribbon hole. So I know that you're, oh gosh, I'm dropping things. I know that you're a customer for Lorna, but I just want to, why not, we all help each other out here. Let me just show you what the other bits do. Let me just grab a scrap here. So if I go into this fancy, so we get this fancy corner, so you can use it on corners of cards, envelopes, layers, etc. And this one's handy for now this one you can put the card straight across rather than it being tucked into a corner. Can you see the guides here? So when you pop your card in, for the fancy one it's a corner. For the hole you put your card straight across. So you can actually punch this ribbon hole. So pop it down. This works a bit differently to our other punches. And just press straight down. So this one is a bit like CPI. And you get this hole here that you can thread a ribbon through. So handy for the tops of tags. And then finally the other corner is the corner rounder, which we all need. Every crafter needs to be able to round corners for projects. So it's a handy trio punch. Let me just get rid of those little tiny bits. So yes, if you did watch Lorna's, or if you haven't and you're going to watch Lorna on playback, Lorna did mention this trio punch, and this is exactly what Lorna was talking about. So if you're a customer of Lorna's, you'll know where to go for this. If you're a customer of mine, you also know where to go to order one. This place here. Yes. Okay, so that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to use just one ink pad, which is Evening Evergreen, the sentiment stamp, and then I'm going to also need, so cardstock, I'm going to need some designer series paper. So if you're making one of these wallets with me, you'll need some designer series paper, and it would help if you chopped it to 6 by 6 if you're using the 12 inch by 12 inch. Just chop your pieces in half, and you need 4 pieces of 6 by 6 for the pockets inside. And you need 2 pieces for your actual wallet outside. So you need 1 piece for the main body and 1 piece to make the coordinating or contrasting flap. And you can use the offcut from that for your belly band. So it's quite a resource intensive project in terms of DSP, but what I love is that I buy lots of DSP and often don't use it all up. So it's a great way of using up your DSP, designer series paper, that you've got in your stash. You'll also need a piece of white. If you're decorating it like mine, that is, you'll need a piece of white to stamp. You'll need a few pieces of contrasting coloured cardstock, and I've just grabbed these from my scrap box. So I'm just going to pop those to one side, and we're going to focus on the actual wallet. So I'll pop the belly band to one side and we'll focus on the actual construction of the wallet. You'll need your trimmer and scoring tool, and I'm just going to move that. Let me just see if I can move my camera slightly. Now I know that the bottom of my trimmer is not visible, but I wanted you to be able to see the top so you can see the measurements I'm using. So let's have a look. I'm going to just find my post-it stickers because I thought if I just popped these down it might help you as I'm working. So for the cover you need one piece of 6 inch by 6 inch, and I'm going to work in inches for this just because although I never usually work in inches, I found that because the cardstock comes in inches it's quite handy. Now what we need to decide is what's going to be our outside. I've just pulled out all the bits that I've got and I've chosen these 2 colours to work with. So I'm going to use this one. Was I going to use that one? Oh, that one I can't decide. I think I'm going to use this one for my cover, and I'm going to use it will have a contrasting flap of the green stripes, I think. Or should I go with this pattern and that pattern? I might just go with a contrasting. So you've got to just work out. I think I'll go with this for the main cover and this for my flap. And then my inside pockets, I think I'll go with the same as the flap because we've got no direction, no directional patterns, so we can use that. So I just need one piece of this colour, so I'll pop those to one side, back in the box, and then I'll need one piece of this contrast for the flap, and I'll need 4, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4 for the pockets. So let's focus on the flap, on the, gosh, I could speak, it'd be marvellous. What's wrong with me? On the cover, the main cover, which is this piece here, and you're going to score it at 3, but take care, watch for the directional pattern. So I want my wallet to end up looking like this because these little sprigs kind of are growing that way. So I'm going to turn it this way and I'm going to score it at 3 inches. So I'm literally just scoring it in half, and I'm going to use the scoring tool on my trimmer and scorer, which is the lighter colour. Now just be careful, I just heard that tear ever so slightly. When you're scoring designer series paper, you need to take great care not to press down too hard with your scoring tool. Our scoring tool on our trimmer is incredibly good. So just what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to discard that piece, and I will use it for another project, and I'm just going to score that again. I'm going to just pop that in at across to 3 inches there, and this time I'm going to score but with not as much pressure. Because this is designer series paper, it's not cardstock, it's a little bit more prone to tearing through with the scoring tool, so just take care. So that's your body of your wallet, that's your actual wallet. Now I'm going to take my contrasting piece. Now, did I count them out? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yes. So my contrasting piece for the flap, I'm actually going to trim that. So let me get my next post-it sticker. I'm just going to check whether you can see that on camera. I think you can. Yep. And I actually want it to be 6 inches by 3 inches. Now we know this is a 6 by 6, so we know that one of those measurements is fine. And I want it to be 3 inches, and I'm just checking both sides. We don't really have a direction, so I can actually trim this to 3 inches. So I'm going to trim and pop that piece just to one side. And now I'm going to score it at 1.5 inches. So I'm just going to move across to my 1.5 inch there and score that. And now I can fold that. And I've been very gentle there. I've barely scored it at all, so it's just about getting that happy medium. There we go, that's better. So I've scored that, and that's going to be my flap. This is how we construct it. That's going to be my flap for my wallet. And of course I need to corner around that, which I will do in a moment. But first of all, we're going to make our pockets. So let me just see where I can stick that. I'll just pop that over there for the moment. So I need my 4 pieces of DSP, and I'm actually going to trim them down because they need to be slightly smaller. If I show you the original, they need to be just slightly smaller. Can you see that that's just slightly smaller there, and actually just slightly smaller that way? So I'm going to trim them down to 5.5 inches by 5.5 inches. Now you can actually trim 2 at a time. This pattern is non-directional, so I'm not going to worry. So I'm going to trim them down to 5.5 inches. Just take care to, if you're doing 2 at a time, take your time and just make sure that they're all really nicely lined up. Use the top to butt your paper up against, because that gives you a nice even edge. Scraps just pop in the bin. I know I could probably make some fabulous project with those scraps, but you know what, life's too short. Ooh. And there's plenty more DSP where that came from. So I've got 2 pieces that are now 5.5 by 5.5. I'm going to trim the other 2 pieces together, 5.5. Turn it, and I'll just trim that to 5.5. And we need to score these at 2 3/4 inches. So that's basically, we need to score them in half. Now you can either score them and fold them, or you can take them, and I'm just going to take them and fold them, and I can just pop my trimmer to one side. Let me just pop that back in its place. I'm going to just grab my bone folder. Because this is paper and not cardstock, it will fold really nicely. I see lots of demonstrators actually folding cardstock and creasing it with their bone folder, and whenever I try and do that, I end up with wrinkles. Just got a little, oh there we go, just got a little extra piece there. So I usually always score cardstock, but designer series paper folds really nicely. Now of course, for your pockets inside, you might decide to have this pattern inside the pocket or this pattern inside the pocket. You can choose what you would prefer to see. So depending on what you'd prefer to see, i.e. when you open it, what would you prefer to see, inside or here? You just choose, and I'm going to go for that slightly plainer pattern on the inside. It's quite a simple project, this, you'd be amazed. So now we've got all our 4 pockets together, we can actually do that circle punch and pop out that hole. Now you should be able to punch them all together if you've got a circle punch, and I'm going to eyeball the middle. Ooh, I'm just going to see, can I do it? I don't think I can do 4. I'm fibbing. I'm going to do 2 together. So I'm just going to eyeball the middle. I'm not going to measure. If you're an accurate crafter, you might want to take a measurement and make a pencil mark in the middle. But I'm just putting that sort of halfway in the punch. And now I'm going to use one of those as my guide, so I can just get that in the right place. There we go. It's as easy as that. So we've got them all punched in the same place, and let me just get rid of those bits because they flew all over my craft room. There we go. Now I'm going to, while we're punching, I'm going to do that corner round on that flap. So I'm going to open out my folded top flap and just pop it in the corner rounder. And that gives me that lovely rounded edge. Just finishes it off. I'll pop those 2 bits together. So A really quick recap before we start sticking on those sizes, just in case. So I'm just going to pop those there. So the cover, you want one piece of 6 by 6, and you score it at 3 inches. Just watch out for any directional patterns when you're scoring. Your top flap, you want to cut a piece of 6 by 6 in half, so you get a piece 6 by 3, and score it at 1.5. And again, just watch out for any directions in your pattern. And then those pockets, you want 4 pieces, and trim them down to 5.5 by 5.5, and then score them at 2 3/4 inches. Again, watching for any pattern directions. So that's your instructions for your bits. I'm just going to leave that there because when you're watching on playback, you might want to screenshot that bit. And then I'm just going to whip them to one side and carry on working. So what we need to do next is we need to start assembling our wallet, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to stick the flap to the main wallet, and I'm simply going to stick the flap to the inside, not the outside, to the inside. But I want to just mention before I do, I'm going to stick it so it's ever so slightly proud at the top. Don't know if you can see that, just ever so slightly, just so that it's got enough when it's all together to close around. If it was too tight, then we might be struggling to close it. So checking that you've got the direction of your wallet. If you've got a directional pattern on your paper and you know that that's the back and that's the front, we're going to stick this flap on. And as always, I will use multi-purpose liquid glue. I'm just going to give this one a clean off, and I haven't got my pinny on, so bear with me. So I got this one out of my graveyard box yesterday and I've not used it yet. And I say it's graveyard, it still feels like it's got quite a lot of life left in it. Now when I'm putting my glue on, and this will be difficult to pick up on the camera, let me see if I can show you that. Oh no, it's not picking it up. I've put my glue but not right to the very top because I want to be popping that flap just a little bit proud of the case. So I'm going to carefully line that up. You'll see what I mean in a tick. Now one of the reasons, of course, I love multi-purpose liquid glue is because you can get a bit of slide. I can make sure I've got that nice and straight. Now can you see what I mean? I've just left a little bit, just give that a squeeze. You can see I've just left a little bit of a gap, only tiny, only a couple of millimetres. Don't even know what millimetres is in inches. And don't worry about this mismatch because remember your pockets are going inside, so we're going to stick our pockets inside this way. Okay, so now we're going to stick the pockets together. Now this is the bit where you'll need to pay attention. So first of all, we're going to take each individual pocket and we're going to glue the edges. So we're going to put a very thin line of liquid glue, and this glue seems to want to come out on its own, so I'm just going to use my old gift card just to scrape a little bit of that off because I've got quite a bit of glue there I don't need. So that's one of the uses for my gift card. I also use my old gift card, or you could use an old plastic credit card for sliding ink in an ink pad, and we'll try and remember to show you that in a second and why I'd want to do that. So a thin line of glue down each edge, and I'm going to use my bone folder because using my bone folder ensures that I get really good contact between the paper and the glue, and it really does stick down. Now you might get sticky on your grid sheet or on your work surface, so if you've got some kitchen towel to hand, that might be an idea. And I can feel already I'm getting sticky on my grid sheet. I'm going to give you another tip here as well. If you do get very sticky on your work surface and you do wipe it off with a bit of kitchen paper, but it still feels really sticky, if you do have an embossing buddy, if you just run that over your work area, what that does is the powder sticks to the glue and it stops all those annoying sticky bits when you're trying to stick your projects together and they keep getting stuck to your grid sheets. That's a little handy tip for today. Another use for your embossing buddy, and it's such a shame that we don't sell them anymore. There we go. Just make sure we're really nicely stuck at the sides, because it is a wallet and we don't want things to fall out. So each of the 4 pockets gets glued down their sides. That's that. And you can use tape glue. The first one I made, which I think, was it this one? Yes, this one. I actually used tape glue for this one. The thing I find with tape glue, and I can see it happening just there, is it just doesn't seem to want to stay stuck. The more you sort of pull it, sometimes it just pulls apart. This one I used multi-purpose liquid glue, and you can actually hear it. It still sounds a bit tacky inside, but I find this multi-purpose liquid glue a stronger glue for construction. So let me just feel my work surface, it's not too bad. So now we've got all 4 pockets stuck down their edges. We now need to stick these pockets to each other. So what we're going to do is we're going to just run a line of glue down the middle and stick a pocket on top. So it's a line of glue down the middle, and then on top of that stack a line of glue down the middle, line it up really carefully, and my bone folder's covered in glue, and a line of glue down the middle, and line that up really carefully. I mean, remember, this is a handcrafted project, so you know, the lining up really carefully is as careful as you can be. Now I'm going to pop all of this. You can see that that's how that's working. So that's working now like an accordion, but I am going to pop it all to one side to dry. No, I'm not. I was going to say let's do the decorating and leave it all to dry. I'm actually going to glue it into the actual wallet and then we'll leave that to dry, because while we're gluing we might as well be focused on what we're doing. So now we're going to glue the pockets inside the actual wallet, and I'm going to do that by putting glue. We're going to ignore this little bit here and we're going to put glue along the top 2 edges, along the sides and along the bottom, and then we're going to turn that over and we're going to pop that inside. I've just realised how hideous it is working with stripes. I'm going to just pull that down a little bit because they're making my eyes go a bit funny. So that's glued that to the back, and we're going to put our glue in exactly the same place, so a little bit across the top, ignoring the half circle, bit down the edge, along the bottom and up the other edge. You don't need masses of glue, and then we can fold that front of the wallet up and give that a run over with our bone folder. Again, the bone folder just means that we get lots of good contact between glue and paper, and you can see that that's working. You can hear that glue is a bit tacky, so it's wanting to sort of stick to itself, but we'll pop that to one side to dry and then we'll work on some decoration for this project. And I'll just give you one tip as well. If you've got hand gel handy, which who hasn't, and you've got some kitchen paper handy, it's really great for cleaning off your tools. So you ink off your blocks, it gets your blocks really nice and shiny, and it takes off excess glue from things like bone folders. And your trimmer, actually, it's really worthwhile cleaning your paper trimmer from time to time. You can hear how squeaky clean that is. So that's just another handy hint. It's also handy for having on your desk just to get excess glue off. So I'll put my glue to one side. We're going to do some decorating. I do want to, let's just talk about what I use this for and what I mean when I say I use it on my ink pads. Sometimes when we get our ink pads, they're really, really juicy. And in particular, and that one's just got a blob on it which I want to remove, so that's a handy way of removing that blob. Let's get rid of that. So sometimes when our ink pad is super juicy and we want to actually stamp one of those distinctive stamps, so we do have, let me have a look, is that a distinctive one? I'm just going to try and find one, and I can't put my hand on one now. I think this is a distinctive stamp. So it's got quite a bit of detail on it, and if it was super juicy, this image, I know I'm going off paste, but sometimes it's nice to have a handy hint, that image would not stamp, that's stamped beautifully, but if it was super juicy, it wouldn't stamp with that distinction, it would go a bit blobby. So if you ever have a stamp and you think, that's just looking really blobby, what's going wrong? Check, is your ink pad really juicy? Is there too much ink in your ink pad? And what to do with that, if the answer is yes, is you can just use your plastic card to move the ink. All you're doing is you're not removing it, you're actually moving the ink to one side, either to one end or one side. Just run it across a few times and then have another go at stamping. And if that's improved the image that you've got once you've stamped, you'll know that it was because your ink pad was too juicy. Now that ink can stay in the ink pad but just moved across to one side, and then when your ink pad you feel like it needs re-inking, if you remember that you've moved the ink to one side, you can actually just spread that ink across. Equally, when you do re-ink your ink pads with our re-inkers, I'm just going to reach for one in case you didn't know, we do sell, I don't think I've got that colour in my ink. That's garden green. I'm not going to re-ink it, but we do sell re-inkers to re-ink your ink pads. And all you do is you just take the top off and running the nozzle. I'm not going to do this one because it's a different green. You just run it across in a zigzag, and then you can use a plastic card and just make sure that that ink's spread nice and evenly. So old plastic credit card or gift card is a handy thing to keep in your stamp room, in your craft room. So, sorry for that digression, but anyway, something a bit interesting. Now, I made a belly band for my original wallet, and do you remember, she said, looking back, what have I just done with it? So we need some bits and pieces of cardstock. I don't know what I've done with the piece of DSP that I trimmed off. So I trimmed a piece down for the, wow, oh there it is, it's hiding. Trimmed a piece off, so I trimmed a piece in half for the flap, and we can actually use this piece to make the contrasting belly band. So we can make a belly band in the same pattern as the flap, or you could make an even more contrasting belly band by using another piece the same as the colour of the main wallet. But I'm going to use this piece because we actually trimmed it off. Now I want my belly band to be a little bit slimmer than that, so I'm going to bring back in my trimmer. And I'm just going to trim a little bit down, probably go to about 2 inches, just make it a little bit less wide. Just pop the that over there. Now you'll see straight away that this is not enough to go all the way round. So if I just pop that on, and all I'm going to do is fold that over. I'm not going to do any fancy scoring. You'll see that I've got this little bit of a gap, and what we're going to do is use the labels and the decoration to cover that gap. So if I just hold that way, you'll see I've hidden that gap behind there. So it's really simple, but it just means that we get that belly band. Now, by just wrapping it round, you'll ensure that you'll be able to slide it. If you were to measure it and score it and fold it, that's what happens then is you'll find that your belly band is too tight to be able to slide it off. I'm sure that some of my regular followers will remember me getting my knickers in a right twist with a belly band last year, probably on a Christmas project, I'm sure. So the first thing I'm going to do is get my stamping done, and I want a label for that to be stamped on, and I'm going to bring in my mini die cutting machine, and I'm going to use my faithful, now I've got my magnetic stand. Look, I have this picture frame with a magnet on, and I've got my magnetic stand to one side with my dies on, and I'm going to use my faithful Stitched So Sweetly labels, and I'm just thinking, will that piece of cardstock run through? And just trim that down ever so slightly. I think it'll just be able to run through. So I'm just going to pop that on. So I've got layer platform 1, and then I'm just going to pop my die on a slight angle, and the reason for that is that that straight edge will go in on a slight angle and it won't cause any clunking. And I am just layering up my plates ever so slightly because that will cause that pinch and it will run through the rollers a little bit easier. And I'm grabbing hold of my machine because I'm on top of a grid sheet. It wants to wiggle around. So I've got that label there ready to stamp. And pop that label on the magnetic board. Let's just pop that to one side. So we're going to just stamp that sentiment, and just take notice of where I've stamped the sentiment. I've stamped it over to one side so I can actually have enough room for that lovely decoration. So photopolymer stamp. Now because it's a sentiment, I'm not going to bother with my stamping pierce mat. I'm just going to ink the stamp, tap tap tap, and I'm going to place the stamp in the position I want it and go straight down, a little bit of pressure on the top, no rocking and rolling, and then straight up. And of course photopolymer always stick to the card, so we just pop our finger underneath and release that. And that's all the stamping we're going to do on this project. So we can close our ink pad, pop that to one side. So that's our label ready for decoration, and I need some layers, so I need to do some more die cutting, and I need to cut myself a another label this size. And while I'm cutting that label, I'm also going to run through my foliage. Now here's a frugal tip: you could run that through like that because nobody would see that hole underneath. I'm actually going to see if I can run that through like this. I also need my star in this colour, so I'm going to see if I can fit all of that on one plate and run that through my machine. So we'll have platform 1, bottom layer, and let's see what we can fit on the plate. I reckon that'll all fit. I'll just move that a little bit, and we'll still be able to just stagger those plates. So off we go. There we go. All our little bits. Got our beautiful label. We've got our foliage, which has just popped out beautifully, and our star, which has popped out beautifully as well. I'll just pop those to one side, and this little star We just have a few bits to poke out on there. Oh, something else that made me happy this week was chatting to Mum. Hi Mum, I know you're watching. And Mum bought this bundle, but then she'd only had it 2 minutes and she lost the tiniest star from the die set. Well, she hunted high and low, thought it had gone up the vacuum, was absolutely devastated. Brand new, not used it on the projects, in the class that I was running. We were both really upset. And then this week, I don't even know whether it was yesterday. No, it wasn't yesterday. It was Saturday. And we were chatting and crafting at the same time. Mum went to her machine and stuck to her magnetic plate was the tiny star. So that made me very happy. So I'm just chatting away there. I'm just going to see this one stuck inside the die. So I'm just going to take my poker tool and just use the release holes to poke that free. Now I just want to cut one more of this foliage from the red colour, which is Cherry Cobbler. So I haven't mentioned the colours that I'm using. And of course I'm using coordinating colours. One of the best things about Stampin' Up is the coordination. Both the products, so the stamps and the dies, stamps and punches, and the coordinating colours. So I'm using the colours that coordinate with the designer series paper. Now let's get rid of some of these scraps and tidy up my desk. So I've stuck all of my dies back on my magnetic sheet and I can pop that to one side out of the way. Got all my little bits to stick together and I can move my machine out of the way. So yes, I'm using I will just grab my annual catalogue and we'll have a look at this. Let's have a look. Christmas, there we are. So Tidings of Christmas, and what I love in the catalogue is that we actually have the colours used in the designer series paper, so therefore in the suite. So Cherry Cobbler, Sahara Sand, Soft Succulent, Evening Evergreen and Curved Ball, Misty Moonlight. I absolutely love that pop of Misty Moonlight in this suite of products. Now the suite, yes, I'm just checking, the suite is the bundle, stamp set and dies, and the designer series paper with that ribbon. And that bundle is £54. And that will be available right the way through until April, end of April, I think that catalogue finishes. So we don't need to cry about this one because this one's not going until that catalogue, the annual catalogue finishes. So let me just pop all these bits out. Got my star. Let's get rid of those little bits. And I've got my bits of foliage. This is the time consuming bit of this project. The wallet itself, really quick to pull together once you've got those measurements and you're happy with what you're doing. And now we just need to assemble the fancy bits. So we've got all our bits that we need. Now one thing I'm going to just pull out is my silicone mat. And I did lose one of these the other month. Had a brand new one and I think it must have gone in the bin. So I've got a new one. Quite inexpensive but quite fantastic to use, and I'm just going to show you a quick way of showing you this before. In my drawer I have a couple of pieces of sponge just that I keep in a plastic pot, really sticky, and they're my glue sponges. Can you see? They're really sticky. I'll just keep them in my drawer, and I just find this an easy way of sticking intricate die cut pieces to project. So whether this was just being stuck straight to something else or being stuck over the top of another shape. So glue on silicone mat, glue onto sponge. I'm going to also take my pokey tool just to hold this star, die cut star, and I'm going to just dab that glue all over the back. So obviously I've flipped that face down and I'm just gluing the back. Now I'm going to take, I could take my tweezers, or I could use my fingers. If I don't want to get gluey, I'll use my tweezers, and now I can just pop that over the top. Clean fingers, no gluey fingers, no gluey mess. Put the silicone mat to one side, and once that glue has dried I can just simply rub it off. So we'll pop it to one side and not in the bin this time. So I've got my star, I've got my 2 labels, and I've got my bits of foliage, and it's going to be so simple just to stick this all together. I'm going to raise up the white label from the bottom label using some dimensionals. Let me just grab a sheet of dimensionals. And I'm going to actually put 4 on this one. I think I only put 2 on my original project, and I can just see how it's lifting. Too frugal sometimes. Another tip when I'm trying to, if you don't have fingernails and you want to get those backings off your dimensionals, if you squish them with your thumb, it makes them so much easier just to pop off. So if you're one of those that are forever trying to pick and you can't get them loose. I seem to be full of handy hints and tips today. So simple as that. Now I want to layer this star. So this is where we have to just take a little bit more care. I want to layer the star so I can still obviously see my sentiment, but I don't want to add glue to this bit. So I'm going to flip that and just take note that I want to leave at least 2 of those points glue free. So if I hold that in my hand, cover it up with my thumb, I won't be able to put glue on that point. And I'm just going to put enough glue on those 2 points to be able to then flip it back round. So they're the glue free points, and I know I can then stick that to my project. And what I want to do is work fairly quickly. I'm just going to pull a little bit of that stem off, and I want to pop a little bit of glue just on the top of there. And before the glue on the star completely dries, I'm going to slide that bit of foliage underneath. And the same with this piece. Just pull a bit of that stem off. A little bit like that. Just before the glue completely dries on the star, slide that under. And then the final piece of foliage, I'm going to actually slide between, see how the white label and the the bottom label, I've forgotten what colour it was, and we've only just looked at colours. Soft succulent, that's me cracking up. Now I can see a bit of glue there, so I'm going to get my piece of kitchen paper again and really quickly just dab it. I'm not worried too much about that bit of wet glue, because it will dry clear and it won't be sticky. It won't hamper the actual finished project. So now what I need to do is actually stand up and see if I've got any comments. Hello. No, I think we're all okay. Hi Brenda. I didn't see that you'd sneaked in there. You've probably been watching for a while. So now I need to actually assemble the whole thing. So I've got my belly band wrapped round, and now I need to just stick my label to my belly band and line that up. Now for this I am actually going to use I could use wet glue, I could use tape on the top and the bottom, but I want to just take notice of where it's touching that band and where it's not touching that band. So I'm actually just going to put my glue on this little bit here and this little bit here. So I think I might just use some tape. I'm wondering whether this needs a refill, but we'll just pop a bit of stamp and seal there and a bit of, let me see, I can see the red marker inside, so I know that that stamp and seal's nearly ready for refilling. I do love my stamp and seal. And I'm going to just hold that. Take care to line it straight, because you don't get 2 goes with stamp and seal. Once you press it down, there's no wiggle room. So that's the belly band finished. So actually, here we go. I haven't even been on an hour, and most of the beginning of that was chit chat. So I've got that one finished. Ooh, I don't know who I'm going to give all these gift cards to for Christmas, but hey, two lovely wallets, same but different. Oh, bling. Let's have some bling. I'm going to just grab my box of bling. And I will mention again, this is how I store my bling, in these useful simple photo wallets. I take the cardboard out. This is a new one I've just got from, I think this was from Wilko's, £1 from Wilko's, bargain. I'll take those bits of card out, might be able to use those for something, and use one of our large stamp cases, excuse me, and I just put them in. And then what I like to do, I'll just put that to one side, what I like to do is take off usually the cellophane wrappers that the bling comes with, and just slide them in and out of the photo album, because I absolutely can't stand those. So I can see I've left that one in the cellophane. I can't stand the cellophane wrappers, they drive me bonkers. So I'm going to use the in colour gems for this one. I will show you actually how I coloured those. You probably guessed anyway, but I used my Stampin' Blends. So I'm just going to use my, I love my Take Your Pick tool, even though that's absolutely minging, covered in glue, so it needs a bit of hand gel on. I'm going to take my Take Your Pick tool and just pop a few of those gems. And like I say, these are the in colour gems, and of course this one is Evening Evergreen, so it coordinates beautifully with the Evening Evergreen in the project. And there's also Soft Succulent, so that would look lovely as well. So I can simply keep the cardboard but just slide my bling back in its wallet, and then keep all of that on my shelf. Current bling, I've got one with some bits of retired bling, but to be honest, I never use it, so I should probably send it to my mum. So there we go, finished project. I used Stampin' Blends in Cherry Cobbler, and I used the fine tip end, and I'd actually just put clear rhinestones. And once I put the clear rhinestones on the project, I thought that they needed to be a different colour. So with the fine end, I just simply ran some colour from the stamp, because this is an alcohol based ink that just dries and won't rub off. You wouldn't be able to do that with a Stampin' Right marker, one of these, because it's water based and it just wouldn't colour it. So you wouldn't be able to use your markers for that, but that's a really useful way of colouring your clear rhinestones. So I did say I would share a couple of bits. I'm just going to pop those to one side, and I just want to share a couple of things with you. So this stamp set, Happy Holidays, is in the August to December mini catalogue, and tomorrow is your last chance month to get products from this catalogue. After the end of December, the products in this catalogue will no longer be available. Now, some of the products will be retiring completely, and once they're gone, they're gone. Once a product retires, it retires and it goes, and we can't get it. Some of the products will actually carry over into either the annual catalogue or the next Christmas mini catalogue. So just for the sake of calling this by another name instead of the months, this Christmas mini catalogue. So next year we'll get another Christmas mini catalogue, and some of the products in here are going to carry over. This, sadly, this stamp set, which is one of my favourites because I absolutely adore birds, is retiring. So after the end of December you will no longer be able to get this. stamp set. And yesterday evening, I don't know if you saw my story pop up on my social media. Yesterday evening I was just sat with some of my blends while I was chatting to Mum, and I was colouring in the robin as other garden birds, and it's just something, it's a passion of mine. I love birds, I love nature, and so I just started colouring in. So I won't be letting this stamp set go into my famous bog off sale or selling it as a retired item. So if you also love your birds, you'll need to get this stamp set before the end of December. Unfortunately, it's not gone in the sale, so complicated as this whole process is, some of the items that are retiring are going to be on sale starting from tomorrow with reductions, obviously. And some of the items like this one will continue to be sold until the end of December, then will be retiring, but this has not been reduced in price. I wanted to share with you the Penguin Place stamp set has a matching punch. Ooh, let me reach my shelf. That was a big stretch. Has a fabulous matching punch. So if I bring in this project, I actually stamped the penguin and punched the penguin out and punched out the little feet and stuck them on. So Penguin is going to be reappearing next year, but not as a bundle. So if you absolutely do love the Penguin stamp set and the matching punch, I would advise you to buy them in December whilst they're still available as a bundle, and bundles mean 10% when you buy the two things together. Otherwise, you'll be able to buy them as separate items, but it will be full price stamp set, full price punch. So that's another bit of explanation. Something else, so just before I put that away, so last chance starts tomorrow, the 1st of December, until the end of December. So it's your last chance to get your favourite products out of this catalogue before they disappear either for good or until they reappear in a subsequent catalogue. Not many will be coming back. And the easiest place to find out, I do have a list, but who wants to trawl through a list? The easiest place to find out what's on offer and what's been reduced is to go to my shop online. From tomorrow, pop in the product code number and see if it's on sale. There'll also be a link to Last Chance on the shop tomorrow, so you'll be able to click the Last Chance and see what's happening there. One thing I am delighted about is the snowflakes I've used, these beautiful snowflakes, and this is why I hate the cellophane bags. These beautiful snowflakes that come already laser cut are going to be a returning item, so they will be returning next year. So I'm really happy about them. I'm not going to rattle that cellophane, let me just chuck that to one side. So I'm really happy that they will be coming back. Before I finish just now, I want to just stamp this robin for you, and I want to demonstrate how I coloured him in really easily. So I've got a piece of white, so I'm just using basic white, and I'm going to grab my basic grey ink pad. And I'm going to ink my stamp and just stamp beautiful robin. And just close that ink pad up, and I'm going to reach for pop that there, crumb cake ink and Cajun Craze ink. Just two colours, really simply, and I'm just going to use crumb cake and two sponge daubers. I'm going to ink my dauber with crumb cake, and I'm just simply going to daub that ink across really quickly and easily. I'm going to fussy cut, so I'm not bothered about going off the lines too much. And then to give Robin that lovely red breast, I'm going to use another ink dauber, and I'm just going to ink sort of on an angle, if you can see that. I'm just going to ink that on an angle. And I'm going to just concentrate around the face. And it isn't the entire breast of a robin that's red. It's around the face and just the top of his chest. And underneath his tummy is actually white. So there we are, we've added some colour. And finally, I'm going to just grab one of my watercolour pencils in, I think, early espresso, and just add a little bit of colour to that beak and those legs. And I'm not even going to blend that colour in, I've just added that colour. As simply as that, so we don't have to be artists to have a really nice, easy to stamp and easy to colour robin for our Christmas cards. So hopefully that's just giving you an extra demonstration today. Oh, Shaz, my colouring is exceptional. Were you talking about my garden? Oh, I've just thrown something in the bin. My garden beds, thank you. I used stamping blends for all of those, and I actually stamped, I didn't stamp with Memento, I stamped with basic grey ink, and I just used stamping blends. And actually it's not very difficult. I wanted to, I've made this bird, this is a chaffinch, and I've actually made his tail a pointed tail just to be anatomically correct, and I couldn't quite get the black enough, so I did actually use a Stampin' Right marker, but I wasn't too happy with the black on here. But it was just a doodle more than anything, and I'm really quite chuffed with those, and I think I might fussy cut them and pop them onto birthday cards. But that's why I'll be hanging on to my Jolly Holiday or Happy Holidays stamp set, because I just absolutely adore birds, and I love to colour birds and make cards using birds as well. So, and yes, I did make that look easy, because it really can't get any easier to add colour to a stamped image. Honestly, finger daubers, if you've not got any, then get some ordered. I think they're coming from memory, a pack of 5, I think. That's just from memory, in the annual catalogue, and 2 colours of ink. That couldn't be any easier. And even going over the edge, because I'm going to fussy cut like I've done with this one, and just add that to a project, a simple snowflake underneath. It really couldn't be easier. And even if you don't have a die cutting machine, even though I've die cut this label, if you don't have a die cutting machine, I think you could quite easily cut a simple rectangle and extend that flap and decorate that, and make this wallet with a stamped image and one of those beautiful die cut snowflakes. So I encourage you to order some of those snowflakes for definite before the end of December. And like I say, just bear in mind that the lovely Christmas products in the mini catalogue are available just until the end of December, and then they're going to retire. Now, before I go, I'm going to just clear some of this stuff away, and I'm going to talk to you about what's coming up. So I got my new mini catalogue. I can't show you inside it, we're not allowed, it's embargoed until it goes live. We're not actually allowed to publish the PDF version to customers, and we're not allowed to open the catalogue and show images to customers. There's also going to be another celebration for January and February, and celebration means free product. So tomorrow I'm ordering packs of catalogues. If you're already a customer of mine, you will automatically get a catalogue in the post. If you haven't been a customer of mine before and you'd like a catalogue in the post, all you need to do is contact me, or even your local demonstrator if you've got a demonstrator. And I'm pretty sure that a couple of people who are watching might well be Lorna's customers, so I'd encourage you to contact Lorna and get your catalogue. Lorna is a team member of mine, so I'm quite happy to promote Lorna as well. And yeah, so new catalogue coming, fabulous products coming in celebration. And I just want to share what I am allowed to share with you is what I've got so far. So I've got one of the celebration items so far, and that is, oh Shaz, you're a hobby demo, wonderful. fantastic. Awesome otters. And I've got, this is free. You can get this free when you spend £45 in that new catalogue. And that's a red rubber stamp. I've not even popped my stickers on yet. I've not even wet this stamp yet, and I can't wait to have a go, but it's fantastic. I couldn't have been more excited. When I saw this, I nearly peed my pants because my gorgeous niece Alice is in love with otters. Otters are her favourite animals, so I was so excited about this, and so was my mum. I couldn't wait to get the honeybee home, of course, stamp set, and matching dies. So we've got a lovely die set. So that's a fantastic bundle, and I ordered that straight away on pre-order as soon as I could. Product purchase premiere pre-order, I should say, because I attended on stage. And I also got some of the Heart and Home doilies, and that was all I got from my product purchase premiere, but I'm doing another pre-order tomorrow. So these come in Misty Moonlight, Basic Grey and Cinnamon Cider. These are lovely doilies. I do love a doily. Again, really nice if you've not got a die cutting machine yet, and I say yet because you really ought to have a die cutting machine. And I'll just share with you a couple of cards. I did post them. Sorry for talking off camera. I did post them on social media last week. Here's the first card that I made using the Honeybee Home stamp set. I've used one of the doilies and I've scrunched it and distressed it a little bit, and got lots of layers going there and some colouring and some die cutting, and basically just chucked everything in the craft room. I think I even coloured the embossing folder just to give that more of an antiqued look. And then I went quite clean and simple with this one. Yes, even though there's a bit of die cutting, I've gone quite clean and simple, and I've just added a bit of Wink of Stella to that for a bit of sparkle. I'm not sure if that is sparkling under the lights, but anyway, just a couple of projects that I've made so far using my Honeybee Home stamp set and dies, because I couldn't wait to start stamping with the bees, of course. Yes, my money tree also needs to flower. I think I might need to feed it a bit and see if it grows some more flowers, some more fun coupons. Oh dear. Okay, so that's just a little share. And the last thing I want to say is joining Stampin' Up couldn't be better at the moment. Until the end of the day today, you can join Stampin' Up for £75. Join my team for £75, but you can receive £130 worth of product and free shipping for that £75. So if, like Shaz, you want to be a hobby demonstrator, then joining my team would not be better value than it is right now today, and that's just going to be until the end of the day today. You can join my team at any time, and the regular joining fee is £99, and you always get to choose £135 worth of product. But until the end of today, the current offer is £75 joining up. So I've never seen a better value joining fee than there is at the moment. And that is it from me today. So I'm going to swizz my camera around and rejoin you. Why not just have a look at my... Ooh. Let me just have a look, see if I can sit it down without falling down. Yes, I'm back in the room. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've really enjoyed the demonstration of the wallet. I'd love to see or hear back from any of you who've watched, and let me know if you've made one and how it went. So if you want to post any pictures, then you can do, or just let me know. And yeah, thank you for joining me as always. If you're watching me on playback, thanks for joining me on playback. Just bear in mind that the date will be different, so any of the offers that I've talked about may not be current. Just check out my demonstrator web page for all the current details. And if you're watching me on YouTube, thank you ever so much for watching me and supporting me. Please give me a thumbs up on Facebook, give me a like on YouTube, and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. It really helps the content to stay free to view. So thanks once again, and all that's left for me to say, as always, is stay safe, stay happy, and keep crafting. Lots of love. Bye for now.